let's look at a couple more examples here. So this one asks us to find the circumference of circle M if the area is 25x squared pi square feet. Okay, and so let's again draw our circle. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and draw just some random circle right here. Okay, I'll go back to my pen and I'll call this again circle M, it says, so I'll put an M right there. We want to know the circumference, okay, so maybe I'll circle that. Find the circumference, okay, and we know the area of the circle. Okay, the area is 25x squared pi square feet, okay? And so let's maybe start this by writing the area formula, right? Since we know the area, we may as well write the area formula down. So I'm going to say the area of this particular circle that we're talking about equals pi times radius squared. Okay, now let's plug in what we know. Okay, we know that the area is 25x squared times pi. So I'll write this down, 25x squared pi. Okay, and that's going to be equal to pi r squared. Okay, so let's start this problem maybe by just dividing both sides by pi. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm just going to divide by pi on both sides. Okay, so if I divide by pi on both sides, those will divide to 1, right? So now I'll have basically 25x squared equals radius squared. Okay, now we have to remember the opposite of raising something to the second power or squaring it is taking the square root of it. So if we're trying to find the radius, okay, let's go ahead and take the square root of both sides. Okay, so the square root of r squared is just r, okay, and the square root of 25 I know is 5, and the square root of x squared is just x. So we find that our radius here is actually going to be 5x feet. Okay, and I'm just going to write this the other way so it's a little bit more friendly. Easy on the eyes. We'll say the radius equals 5x feet. Okay. Now remember, that's not actually our answer here. Okay, but I am going to put that as the radius of our circle. Okay, so I'm just gonna maybe just draw this out here. Go back to my pen. I'm just gonna say that this is 5x feet. Okay. So at this point, we now want to go find the circumference of our circle. Okay, so we can either use 2 pi r or we can use the pi times diameter here, but I'm just going to use 2 pi r. So I'm going to say the circumference is going to be equal to 2 times pi times r. Okay, well the circumference here would then equal to 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by our radius, which is 5x. Okay, and so at this point, all we want to do is kind of take these numbers right here. If they ask for it in terms of pi, we can just do it like this. Okay, for right now, we'll just keep it in terms of pi. I know it doesn't specifically ask for it. Okay, but we'll say that the circumference now is going to be equal to 2 times 5x is just going to be 10x. Then I'm going to put pi at the end, and we want to make sure that we actually attach units, right? So if we're talking about feet, okay, we have to put feet, right? So basically the distance around this circle is going to be 10x times pi feet. All right, and we'll go ahead and look at one more example here. Okay, so we want to find the area of circle A in terms of pi, in which the circumference equals the quantity of 4x minus 6 times pi meters. Okay, so let's start this in the same way. Let's go ahead and draw our circle. Okay, here we go. Here's our nice circle. Okay, we want to find the area of circle A. Okay, we want it in terms of pi. Okay, and we know that the circumference is this. Okay, so since we know the circumference, we may as well use that formula to find out, I don't know, maybe the radius of our circle. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say that the circumference equals 2 times pi times our radius. Okay, and so now I'll plug in the information that I know. So I know that this is the quantity of, the circumference is equal to the quantity of 4x minus 6 pi. And that's going to be equal to 2 times pi times our radius. Okay, so at this point, maybe I'll just go ahead and if I want to know my radius, I can just divide both sides by 2 pi. Okay, so again, 2 pi over 2 pi will divide to 1, so we'll have our radius isolated. I know that pi over pi will divide to 1. And if I divide both 4x and negative 6 by 2, I'll pretty much have my answer here. Okay, so I'll say that 4x divided by 2 is just going to be 2x. And negative 6 divided by 2 is just going to be negative 3. I'll just go ahead and put that in our quantity here, or in our parentheses. We are talking about meters, so I'm just going to go ahead and write meters here. And that's what our radius is. So again, our radius equals the quantity of 2x minus 3 meters. Okay? Remember, that's not actually our answer, but it's going to help us get to our answer. So I'm going to go back to my circle. Okay, I'll call this again, this is circle A. Maybe I'll write down my newfound radius. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll grab my straight line here going from the center to the outside of the circle. Okay, I know that my radius is 2x minus 3 meters. Okay, and now I can use this information to find the area in terms of pi. So remember, the area here is going to be equal to pi times radius squared. Okay, I'll say that the area is going to be equal to the pi times 2x minus 3 squared. Okay, and here's where our algebra kind of comes back in here. Okay, we actually have to FOIL this. So our area is going to be equal to pi times 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3. Okay, and so we do first times first here. Okay, hopefully we remember FOIL. Okay, if we don't, this will be a pretty fast review. Okay, but our area is going to be equal to 2x times 2x is going to be 4x squared. Okay, our outside here, 2x times negative 3 will be a negative 6x. Our insides here will be another negative 6x. And then last times last will give us a positive 9. So when I combine like terms here, I'll actually have to put pi with it as well. But when I combine like terms here, I'll get my area is going to be equal to the quantity of 4x squared minus 12x plus 9 pi. And we got to go look at our units. It's going to be meters squared, or square meters. Okay, and so this is actually going to be our final answer. So we can see the problems do get a little bit more difficult, but we're just using the information that we know to find out what we don't know.